Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name is Brian if you're new around here, but if you're a returning subscriber...
What's going on, you sexy beast?
That's right, that's what you get for subscribing here, by the way. A little bit awkward, maybe a little bit cringe, just in the start of your feed. Guys, we're talking some New World today. If you are been following this game, if you like this game, if you hate this game, I like to talk about New World. I actually am a huge fan of the game itself, and I've been having a blast playing it. I've been looking forward to this update. It's going to drop on February 28th, bright and early. If you're in the greatest state, that's Texas, 7 a.m. Otherwise, it's scheduled for 5 a.m. for you California folks out there. And yeah, we're going to dive through basically this full series of notes that they've got posted. And this is quite extensive. So guys, if you want it read to you, you've come to the right spot. I'm going to be breaking it down, giving you guys some additional thoughts. Maybe you're going to laugh. Maybe you're going to cry. Maybe you're going to be waiting for March for this new theoretical roadmap that they're about to present us. At the core of it, from what I've seen, anything and everything kind of looks real promising. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Let's dive in, guys. We've got a lot of updates to go through, so let's not waste any more time. The world experiences notable bug fixes. Regarding expeditions, they fixed an issue where Tactaceous mini-boss can be killed and looted twice in a single instance. They addressed missing collision that allowed players to leave the intended playable space in the depths. They fixed an issue in Starstone Barrels with the Ancient Guardians animation intro. They fixed an issue where players had the option to join ongoing expeditions from another expedition entrance. For the world, they fixed issues where players could build camps off of each other to reach high locations using environmental features. They fixed issues where ancient AI was too numerous and difficult for solo players at Stiletto, Seiko, and I just butchered that. Removed and removed extra tendrils from Sakamoka and Sunset Aspect's point of interest and toned down enemy count in Sunken Aspect for solo play. They fixed an issue where players could climb over a wall and enter the Siren Queen arena. They adjusted loot chest at Ammonite Mines and Monarch's Bluffs to increase the challenge. They fixed an issue where players pop up and down where interacting in the Giant Elite point of interest and Arcarium Veins. They added more light to Lower Slag Mine. Or more lights, that makes better sense. They fixed an issue with a pile of floating stones found in Elfrey Pergro point of interest. They fixed an issue where the half of a large rock is missing in Mirkgard. Various fixes to floating assets and bad collision across the world. They fixed issues where players' face may look visually incorrect while on low graphic settings. For the Artificial Intelligence General section, they've introduced a new player versus AI physics collision system that will significantly reduce the amount of pushback from colliding with characters. This update applies to bipedal and simple-shaped creatures, withered, ancient guardians, corrupted, lost pirates, brutes, and tendrils, etc. The future updates will look to improve collision versus quadruped and long creatures, cats, elk, wolves, and alligators. They improved the AI target evaluation algorithm to fix some instances of AI tracking locations and the players already moved away from. They reduced the pushback on block for most enemy creatures' attacks to 0. The corrupted ogre, they fixed an issue causing the ball spell damage area to not properly match its visuals. For the Dryad soldier, they fixed an issue that could cause the soldier to repeatedly spam its empower ability if shot from more than 30 meters away or when the player was unreachable. Elemental bears, they reduced the rate of which elemental bears regenerate stamina. Swap Dryad soldier, they fixed the issue causing the swamp dryad, that would be probably the most appropriate term, soldier down slam to sometimes spawn a damaging area of effect, and this has been removed. For the Dryad beast, they fixed an issue where the pull ability calls players to be pulled higher in the air based on their distance from the beast. Undead Navigator, the Undead Navigator's self buff will now properly show up as a status effect in the character's nameplate. Siren Arena Boss, they fixed an issue preventing the Siren from attacking players at the edge of the arena. For Big Cats, they updated knockdown animations to be more distinct from standard reactions. For Expeditions, the Guardian of Genesis, the Blighted Gatekeeper increased the size of the Gatekeeper headshot hit volume. Genesis Shaman, they fixed the missed attack VFX to be in sync with the damage. The Angry Earth Naga, they improved visibility on the attack visual effects. Lazarus Inventality, the Chartress, Increased length of charge's stun phase by 5 seconds. They increased the time before the final laser during phase 3 from 75 seconds after the phase start to 90 seconds after the phase start. They reduced the downtime between lasers during phase 1 and 2 from 60 to 30 seconds. They increased damage of the base laser during phase 1 and 2. They increased Charges' damage by 25% across the board. They reworked Charges' final laser to now deal 15% of health as damage per second. They fixed issues with the swipe animation, creating a safe spot in the black walls. They fixed issues causing Chatterus to not take bonus damage from ancient-related perks and coatings. They fixed issues causing Chargers to not have proper strengths and weaknesses against certain damage types. They fixed issues that would cause Chatterus' laser to persist after his death, and they increased the size of Chargers' headshot volume. For your mutators, they reduced the dissented timer. Disengaged, I don't know that word, from 60 seconds to 45 seconds. Normalized curse damage to ensure that curses are always a threat to players of any health pool size. Sensor damage normalized to 65% of base health, and disengaged damage normalized to 50% of base health. For your weapon swapping, this is where I've had lots of hands-on, and I really was having a struggle playing the current game, having played the changes in the PTR, because I felt that good to me. So you can now swap weapons during hit reactions, dodges, traversals, and while using consumables, except for weapon coatings. This will not interrupt those actions, and there's a 1 second swap cooldown in these cases. That's basically preventing you from swapping and back and forth, etc. Weapon swap buffers will no longer be canceled if you are staggered before the swap can occur. Weapon swaps and attacks can now be queued simultaneously. If you press and swap during an attack's recovery and immediately press the ability key, the weapon will swap and the first swap cancel frame, then immediately perform the desired ability. Note that actions will have buffer and cancel windows. This change can just make them easier to use and more reliable. For dodging and blocking, they've shortened the recovery time of all dodges. Transitioning to movement after the dodge should feel more fluid for all players. Base attack startups can now be dodge and block cancel for up to 2 frames before the first active frame. For melee attacks, in the first active frame is the first frame of the weapon can deal damage, and for ranged attacks, this is the first frame that the projectile is spawned. When performing light attacks with melee weapons, block and dodge inputs will now take priority over the next light attacks in the chain. This change is aimed at preventing accidental attack cues and leaving the player vulnerable when they intended to defend. For jumping off of lower height objects will no longer trigger a fully committed land animation, and this will allow you to keep your momentum as you move through a turnip. For attributes, 300 focus attribute bonus. The mana regeneration from this attribute bonus will now trigger when the caster drops to 15 mana or less. For your equipment load, the equip load descriptions have been updated to include the amount of stamina consumed when dodging. Fixed an issue where the strafe movement speed would vary based off the equipment load. For your bug fixes, they attacked for just more bug fixes. Fixed attack cancels not working in shallow water, canceling one ability into another. Fixed an issue that would cause some attack animations to play incorrectly when used while running. They fixed an issue where players could get stuck while resting at a camp if they were encumbered. They fixed issues where players were able to clip through outcropping collision by using certain abilities while prone. They fixed an issue that would allow players to avoid some damage from AoE attacks while in the prone position. For the bow, rain of arrows, they fixed issues where rain of arrows could trigger backstabs. They fixed issue where rain of arrows bleed duration was not able to extend by perks or passives that extend the bow bleed effect durations. For the evade shot, energizing evade shot item perk, fixed an issue where this perk was not triggering if any upgrades were unlocked for the evade shot itself. Fixed an issue that allowed the rain of arrows, penetrating shot, and poison shot to be used while encumbered or in deep water. They fixed issues that allowed the bow and light attacks to be activated underwater. They fixed issues with the bow hip firing that made the canceling windows different from firing down sights. This fix normalizes the rate of fire between hip firing and firing down the sights. For the fire staff, they increased fireball projectile radius from 0.01 to 0.33. Very excited about that. And to make it easier to hit with, the fireball can also now critical hit. Thank you very much. Reheat, they fixed an issue where reheat could persist through weapon swaps and the ability usage. Updated the flamethrower meteor shower to trigger reheats for timer when the ability exists. They fixed issues that caused the flyout icon of reheat incorrectly show as in power. For Pillar of Fire, they reduced the delay of Pillar of Fire activation and the spawning of its damage. AoE and Fire Pillar now spawns when the player finishes extending their staff forward. They reduced Pillar of Fire recovery by roughly 5 seconds. Then, or 0.5 seconds, that 0.5 is hidden right there. For the flamethrower, increase the flamethrower's base movement speed so that haste buffs have more notable effects. The new move speed is approximately 2 times faster than the previous speed. Accelerated Flamethrower item perk fixed an issue where the haste effect from the Accelerated Flamethrower perk was only triggering off the exact 3 stacks and not 3 more stacks. Let It Burn, they fixed issues where the burn status effects from Fireball, Burnout, and some passive abilities were not triggering and Let It Burn passive. They fixed visual issues with some fire staffs. For the Great Axe, they swapped the placement of the Frustration passive with the Keen Edge passives. The ability points spent on Great Axe ability trees will be refunded, and they're required for respec after this update. For Gravity Well, they updated the damage area to match Vortex visuals. They reduced Vortex pull force to allow players to have a chance to escape. They pulled pulling force just before Vortex damage occurs to allow players a chance to escape by dodging. They remove unintended damage from the initial pull and the area effect of the vortex, and updated the clarification and description of this ability. Maelstrom No Reprieve fixed an issue where the cancel window was set too early to this upgrade, resulting in the ability being canceled out prior to the second spin of the attack. For Enduring Strike, they reduced the damage of reduction provided by this passive from 20% to 12%. They updated the tooltip to clarify that the damage reduction occurs while any grit is active and not just the grit provided by heavy attacks. For the Hatchet, they fixed an issue where the accumulated power of on-fire passives were not consistently triggered within hatchets in the item perk with alternative damage sources, dots, chains, elements, etc. For your Ice Gauntlets, Ice Spike, the spiky reach adjusted the projectiles fired from this upgrade to reduce the chance that a single target is hit with all 4 parts of an attack. For the Ice Storm, fixed an issue if 2 different players had different amounts of modifiers and perks for the Ice Storm ability, they could just stack the damage from it instead of just being a single instance of damage. Punishing Storm added clarification on the tooltip to state that it will only increase Ice Storm's damage. For Ice Shower, fixed the desync issue that would occur when players dodged through the Ice Shower. They fixed an issue that would cause Ice Shower's route to fail when players dodged through it. They fixed an issue where Ice Shower would not start its cooldown immediately when the first ice patch appeared. For your Ice Pylon, the Pylon Burst increased AoE to 3 meter radius from 1 meter, added new burst visual effects to show off this new radius. For your Life Staff Beacon, Speed of Light, fixed an issue where Speed of Light haste was not being applied to the caster if their weapon was sheathed. Haste applied a Speed of Light will now apply to all targets within AoE, not just the allies who are healed. The tooltip has been updated to reflect this new functionality. For your muskets, Sticky Bomb fixed an issue where Sticky Bomb crit damage was not increased when the crit damage numbers would appear. Crit will now deal approximately 273% weapon damage. They reduced Sticky Bomb base damage from 235% damage to 210% damage, and they fixed an issue where Sticky Bomb had broken and inconsistent transitions upon exiting the throw depending on the actions performed after the throw. This could cause the player to be locked out of other abilities until they moved or switched weapons. For a Shooter Stance, they fixed an issue where firing too quickly after entering Shooter Stance would not consume a shot, allowing players to bypass the 5-shot limit. They fixed issues where exiting Shooter Stance would result in stacks of heightened precision passive. They fixed issues that could cause and allow players to bypass animation for Shooter Stance and fire from the standing position. For Stopping Power, this ability is reworked and no longer empowers your next shot, but instead fires a special bullet after a short warm-up time that knocks back the target if it hits. Stopping Power can be fired from aim down sights or hip fire. Stopping Power hit reaction animation changed to better match the timing of that target is staggered. The ability description updated to reflect this new functionality, and cooldown increased from 15 seconds to 20 seconds. Powder Burn and Power Shot loaded shots can now be overwritten. Activating one of these abilities to load a shot while the other is already loaded will replace the previously loaded shot with the new shot. They fixed an issue where loaded shots from these abilities were not counted towards the heightening precision passive stacking. Hustle, they fixed an issue where this passive had a shorter duration than intended, while the Back It Up passive was also active. Players can now use consumables while reloading. Using consumables will interrupt reloading. They fixed an issue that will allow musket basic attacks to be activated underwater. For your Rapier, Flurry, updated ability description to clarify that Flurry can be canceled by other abilities as well as by dodging. Evade, they fixed an issue where sheathing the Rapier after triggering Evade would result in the player getting a persistent movement speed buff. For your Spear, they reflecting Reach, they fixed an issue where the refreshing Reach would not trigger correctly with Coup de Grace. or coup de grace. A javelin fixed an issue where swapping weapons while using the javelin could result in bad animation state. For your sword and shield, the hitbox's ability has been moved closer to the player to prevent situations where the ability could hit targets and appear to be out of range, and the distance traveled by the rush has been increased and to compensate for this loss of the range. For your reverse stab, Tactician, this upgrade will no longer reduce the cooldowns of reverse stab, it will reduce the cooldowns of other sword abilities when triggered. Leaping Strike, the Leaping Strike attack and attacking portions of this ability now have separate properties for homing and movement in order to improve the overall accuracy of based on distance. Adjusted homing for better transition against distance targets, they adjusted homing for more accurate consistent tracking against closer targets. For your Void Gauntlet, Mending Evasion fixed an issue where this passive would reset your lowest active cooldown in addition to its listed effects. For the Warhammer, Armor Breaker fixed an issue where players could not buffer attack inputs from any of the Warhammer abilities into the Armor Breaker ability. Hardened Steel reduced the damage reduction provided by this passive from 20 to 12%. They updated the tooltip to clarify the damage reduction occurs while any grit is active and not just the grit provided by heavy attacks. For Empowering Armor Breaker, this is an item perk, fixed an issue where this perk was applied to hits for 5 seconds and not just the initial hit. For various perks, weapon ability perks updates to perks for specific weapon abilities can be found in that weapons update notes section. For the chain perks, fixed an issue where chain perks could hit targets through obstacles, fixed an issue where chain perks could appear on weapons where they were not intended to appear, such as shields. They fixed an issue that caused the flyout icon of the invasion perk to incorrectly show as discrete. Plentiful Shells. Plentiful Arrows fixed an issue where the Plentiful Shares and Arrows bag perk was not properly scaling and its refunded chance based on gear score. They fixed an issue where the refunded chance could not stack properly if you had multiple bags with the same perk. Shirking Energy fixed an issue that caused this perk to incorrectly activate on equipment loads other than light. The Gathering Recovery, they fixed an inconsistency with the perk being incorrectly referred to as Gathering Restoration in some tooltips. Keenly Jagged fixed an issue where the tooltip for the Keenly Jagged perk was showing the incorrect bleed duration. Adversation fixed an issue where elemental and physical adversation perks were not stacking properly. Slotted Gems fixed an issue that could cause gem perks to show debug strings instead of their actual values. They fixed issues where the Harbinger Life Staff of the Sage and Harbinger Fire Staff of the Scholar stabs in the perks for the opposite weapons on them. For the War and Invasion, they fixed issues where the Void Destroyer would survive both war, its eyes were destroyed, and they fixed issues where Cleansing Elixir was removed but not properly prevented the reapplication of debuffs during its duration. Players can now access the scoreboard while waiting to respawn. For the Outpost Rush, they fixed the issues causing the corrupted legionaries to have no stamina. They fixed issues causing the corrupted priests hounds to quickly appear skinnable upon death. They fixed issues that caused the Outpost Rush to fort barriers to show the name of the objects the player had previously interacted with. They fixed they fixed an incorrect description present in the Brute Summoning Stone. They fixed an issue causing turrets to appear as if they were on fire after being rebuilt from the destroyed state. They fixed an issue in Outpost Rush causing the command post to appear active prior to it being completed. They fixed an issue in the Outpost Rush map appearing misaligned. They have reworked the Outpost Rush scoring and reward system. Dealing damage now actually increases the player's score, reducing the amount of points granted from killing players. They reduced the amount of points granted from killing AI. Visually changed the nameplates of several Outpost Rush AI to better clarify their difficulty. The change in nameplates do not mean that there will be tuning changes to those AI unless called out below. They increased the health of the Corrupted Priest by 10%. They reduced the damage dealt by the Corrupted Brute by 10%. They reduced the health of the Corrupted Brute by 13%. Summon Ghost and Summon Bears now take 150% bonus damage from siege damage. Summon Corrupted Brutes now take 200% bonus from damage and siege damage. They increased the base damage for the Repeater by 20%. They increased the base damage for the Fire Dropper by 16%. They increase the benefit of having more friendly players in a control point. Each friendly player on an uncontested point now reduces the time it takes to capture the point by 3 seconds. It was previously 1.5 seconds. On an uncontested point, this benefit maxes out at 10 players for a minimum capture time of 30 seconds. They reduce the length of Baroness Hines' score lock from 3 minutes to 2.5. They replace the explosive barrel launched at either side of the outpost soul with ballista turrets. These cost 50 infused oil and 50 infused ore and 50 infused wood to build, and would be great tools at taking down the defensive outpost soul. They adjusted the emplacements, so they were more flush to the ground. Adjusted rewards granted from Outpost Rush. Outpost Rush now rewards Umbral Shards on completion of a match. 100 shards for the winning team, 50 shards for the losing team. Players must meet the minimum score threshold to be eligible for this reward. Outpost Rush now rewards faction tokens on completion of a match. Players must meet the minimum score threshold to be eligible for that reward too. The Outpost Rush caches now reward 2 pieces of Outpost Rush specific armor and an Outpost Rush specific weapon. There's an additional 15% chance for a 4th item, a piece of Outpost Rush jewelry. There's also a 2.5% chance that the rolled Outpost Rush item is a named item. The same chance exists today. Significantly increase the likelihood that the rewards in Outpost Rush cache will increase the player's expertise. The Outpost Rush gear now rolls off of a fixed perk and the more ideal for PvP combat. This means that the traits like Beast Ward won't be found on Outpost Rush gear. They removed Beast Ward from Illusionary Enigma and replaced it with Keen. Please note that this change isn't retroactive and it will only apply with new Illusionary Enigma granted after the patch. Players can now access the scoreboard while waiting for a respawn. Notable fixes to the quest system improved the 3rd fishing quest, Baited, by ensuring that the baits are more easily caught and must be salvaged rather than just having the items in inventory. War Camp Loot PvP faction missions now reset the fast travel. Asking First Light representation about die will no longer block players from subsequent quests. Bateris headpiece item can now be properly looted to complete the quest. Ebon Scale Alligators quest now can be completed without resetting. Optimal Siren Tuning Orb now drops properly during the Long Live the Queen quest. Adjusted difficulty of the final enemy in Shivering Timbers. Map markers added to Ensure Investment Part 2. Map markers added for Paths Unseen. Token rewards updated to the Faction Rank Up quest. Map markers added to the Queen is Dead quest. For economics progression and various rewards, leveling up Arcana, Armored Smith, Engineering, Furnishing, Jewel Crafting, and Weapon Smithing trade skills now require 10% less experience. For fixing an issue preventing T5 family muskets from dropping, it also corrects an issue where the lower tier family muskets were dropping at incorrect levels. Bartholomew Thunder Harbor was dropping some level inappropriate gear. This has been fixed. 2 missing housing items have been added to the potential loot drops. Wooden side desk, the rickety twig table increase the likelihood that caches from minor corruption breaches will grant expertise. Crafting. Several T5 weapon schematics were incorrectly displayed during the legendary rarity, even though they crafted epic items. These schematics have been corrected to indicate epic rarity. Affects schematics of Void Forge, Harbinger Longsword, Maker's Mark Hatchet, Stoneurn, Hammer Internal Dusk, Great Axe, Needler, Rapier, Inquisition Musket, Hidden Shrews, Spear, Veil, Piercer Bow, Wind's Singer Staff, Warning Crescent Fire Staff, Frosty Fiery Gate Ice Gauntlet, and the Empty Promise Void Gauntlet. Fishing reduced the effectiveness of fishing bots. Don't know really what that means. For notable bug fixes, fish issues causing certain weapon dropping into Lazarus Hospitality Expedition to not salvage into the correct tier of materials. They now salvage into T5 materials, and this was also the case with some crafted versions of these weapons, which had also been fixed. Forest Wardens previously salvaged into incorrect values for repair parts and coin. Also had incorrect repair part cost. The Forest Warden armor piece is now salvaged into the correct amounts of cost occurring the current amount of repair parts. They fixed the description for the Shards Crystallite as a perk item and now correctly states that it provides the divine perk. Fixed an issue causing the Skinner trade skill armor to set a filter into the incorrect armor weight on the trading post and now correctly filters to medium armor. The removal of several unused attribute mods from the trading post. They fixed issues causing some items to display on the trading post even though they were not tradable. Previewing weapon skins from the store while in housing area will no longer cause players to use the incorrect weapon animations afterwards. Fixed a visual issue with the Blight and Glow apparel set with the Golden Rage coat, Swashbuckler, Stubborn Leather, and Saltern Skewer weapon skins as well. For our UX, UI, and social experiences, they've created a trade chat channel. They've added camp warning notifications to alert players when out of range or low health from their camp and no camp. A status that your camp displays at a banner when entering the point of interest. They added the ability to view players' average gear score, their weapon mastery for 2 equipped weapons, and the attribute allocations on the war board. Players can now see both friendly and enemy progress towards the Brute at the corrupted portal and outpost rush. The crafting screen should no longer select the first recipe if you quickly selected another recipe while it was opening. Notable other fixes: players can no longer attempt to schedule their siege windows during maintenance windows. In the trading UI post, the pop-up when canceling the buy order should now correctly show the refunded coin on the unbought remaining quantity. Resolved an issue causing ancestral muskets to display without icon. They resolved issues after being disconnected due to bad connection and the client crashed, the loading screen taking part in the ongoing invasion. They fixed issues where the voiceover for Persona Thornton was missing during the Friends in Fashion quest. They fixed an issue where the weapon gear score adjustment information was not fully translated for all languages. They fixed an issue where Timeless Ring Shard and Timeless Amulet Shard icons did not match the other resource icons. They fixed an issue where the PvP indicator icon was appearing while the War Outpost rushed. They fixed issues where partner Twitch accounts could see themselves as a sub-army listing. They fixed issues where the objective failed banner shows checkmark instead of an X. They fixed the localization issue with the expertise tooltips on items. GM chat messages are correctly displayed as from a GM. They added the restrictions tooltip for housing items to convey limits on animated and lighting items. They added a purchase timer, hourglass icon, in faction shop items when they have a cooldown between purchases. They added explanation of fishing hotspots as a conversation topic for fishing NPCs. They added a tooltip on the top right of the fishing skill details page and the trade skills tab. They rephrasing housing loading screen tooltips to better describe the act of picking up your furniture and placing it into your settlement storage. They fixed a typo in the Archaeologist Defender Spear. They addressed multiple grammar mistakes in quest and crafting stations. Regarding the PTR notes, the following notes were added to changes as direct result from the internal testing effort, and players submitted feedback to the PTR. For your endgame, Yellow Topaz no longer has a minimum drop time. Black Gypsum minimum drop has been reduced from 10 meters 10 minutes to 5 minutes. Purpose Gypsum minimum drop has now been reduced from 2 minutes to 30 seconds. They added the Gypsum orb in the faction vendor, which can now be bought once per day for 7,000 faction tokens. For aptitude leveling, Smelter Crafter now drops T3 aptitude boxes. Drops of Vicarious Azoth now drop from armor aptitude boxes. Ancient armor plates, ancient metallic thread, cold forged buckles are no longer earnable in-game and no longer incorrectly listed in the trading post. They created a new icon and a new font color for new trade chat channels. They removed the option to use Umbral Shards to upgrade an item when the item was removed from the player's inventory and in the bag on the ground. They fixed an issue where the expired orders from the trading post did not notify the player they would be returned to town in the storage shed. They fixed multiple grammatical errors found on the loading screen tips, and they fixed an issue where the shield's action icon was not working properly after dying. For the open world, with lessons learned from lowering housing taxes in December, we further reduced the housing costs and friction for players that own homes. With this update, we have greatly lowered the tax itself, while also increasing the amount of the company revenue earned from housing taxes directly. This change has been done in order to offset the lower income taxes that the townships can continue to operate from their previous levels. After these changes are made, we will continue to evaluate the state of the economy and perform additional optimizations on territory taxes where needed. In the meantime, here are some specific changes that's going to be introduced. Updated the tax band from 5% to 0.1%. They updated the tax minimum band, lowered from 10% to 1%. Controlling company receives 5 times the coin generated from regional housing taxes. They reduced the leveling experience curve for fishing and gathering skill by roughly 38%. The cooking aptitude experience curve has been increased by about 30%. It was once greatly outpacing other trade skill aptitude progressions, and this could bring cooking aptitude reward frequencies more in line with other professions. Mutated Dynasty Expedition now gives Sapphire Gypsum upon completion. Mutated Dynasty Expedition bosses now give the same amount of coin as bosses in other endgame expeditions. increased the umbral gain from cast from 3 to 200 and 100 to 400. They fixed the umbral gain from crafting from 185 to 25 to 100. Fixed a bug causing some players to be locked out of chat for a few minutes in the beginning of a session. They fixed bugs caused the tooltips that infuse silk apparel display incorrectly gear score. They infused expertise bumps that are always granted the first item dropped by the expedition bosses. They correctly debugged the displaying of the storm-bound remnants airing. The server now teleports 2x as many people into and out of war, resulting in less standby wait time. They fixed an issue causing fire staffs and life staffs to roll with incorrect attribute perk mutated expeditions. They reduced the amount of powerful gem dust and mutator orbs from 10 to 5. Mutator orbs are now be purchasable from the faction store every 3 days rather than every 7 days, and that's a big change right there. They fixed broken collision at Outpost Rush Northern Spawn, allowing enemy players to access the spawn. They fixed an issue that caused players to receive large amounts of poinsettias, adjusted to 4. Level 60 quest in Reedwalker and Shattered Mountain now reward gypsum orbs. Increased the reward experience for side quests from level 10 to 60 by 50%. Azoth for travel and fast travel has now been such a pain point that players trying to complete quests, deposit items, or just exploring the wilds of Returnum. With this already high base cost plus additional penalties for distance and encumbrance, it would feel like getting to the next step of your quest was more of a burden than it would be. In order to ease this burden, we are reducing the cost of fast travel as well as the cooldown on recalls to your last inn. Fast travel from towns and shrines will now have a base cost of 20. There are no longer adjustments for distance or weight. Default recall times for the inn has been reduced from 1 hour to 30 minutes, and reduced cost of resetting fast travel cooldown on houses from 50 Azoth to 20. We realize these changes will significantly reduce the sinks for Azoth and will result in many players having more than they can use in the immediate future. And we are also aware that there will be result of faction control point bonuses for certain regions being nullified. We are going to be planning out ways to address these issues in a future update. We didn't want that to get in the way of improving your travel experience today. For expedition mutations, they updated the consumable tooltip text to properly describe the affected players. They resolved the issue of the corrupted priests and invasions to repeatedly navigate back and forth inside the forts instead of attacking. For combat, updated the King Jagged Perk tooltip to state the correct duration. It previously showed the 10-second cooldown duration as a dot duration instead of the intended 6-second duration. They perform a melee attack and would no longer have a delay before you can sprint again. They reduced player sliding momentum so that would occur in dodging and make all of a sudden change the movement direction. For your Void Gauntlet, they updated its current little too effective locking down in the target before they could recover from the root and petrifying stream. They're also increasing the cooldown of petrifying stream to lower its frequency of the kill combo, and the lowering of this damage orb of decay to make it less likely to kill other targets. As the orb of decay already has many other functions, including in the kill tougher targets, the orb of decay already has many other functions including healing and debuffing. We feel like it's safe to reduce the damage this way without hurting its ability overall. Petrifying Scream increased the cooldown from 15 seconds to 25 seconds. Orb of Decay to base ability damage reduced from 100% to 90%. Detonating Orb, the damage reduction from 100% to 70%. We're seeing a lot of players asking or taking Rapier as a secondary weapon for its defensive capabilities over its offensive ones. While we are expecting this behavior in a dual weapon system, we currently feel like the loadout is a little bit too effective at running away. As a result, we are increasing the cooldown of skills in the Grace Tree to offset the longer cooldowns of Evade. We are swapping the upgrade Crescendo and Breathe in so that players using Evade offensively have better access to cooldown reduction. Repost, they increase the cooldown from 12 seconds to 18 seconds. Evade, they increase the cooldown from 6 seconds to 12 seconds, swapping the positions of the Crescendo and the Breathe in upgrades. As a result of this change, points in this tree will be refunded and to be respected. And Fletch increased the cooldown from 17 seconds to 20 seconds. For the Great Axe, we've heard your feedback. The changes the Gravity Well and the PTR went too far in terms of the reducing of its effectiveness. So we went back to the drawing board and we're trying out a different approach. The new version of Gravity Well includes a route that occurs after the initial pull to help your targets in place, and includes a stronger slow after the pull in to make it harder for foes to escape the damage pulse without using a movement ability. Gravity Passive fixed a bug that prevented this ability from functioning. Gravity Well, this ability has been reworked from its previous PTR version. Improved pulling tech to be more reliably pull in foes to the center. Foes who are pulled into the center of the vortex are rooted for 1 second. They increased slow from 55% to 60%. Slow field duration restored 3 seconds, so that will last until the explosion occurs. Trading and sending gold now requires players to actually be physically near each other. If players are in an invalid location, they will instead receive an error message alerting them as such. Several bugs involving character transferring to different worlds has been fixed. So please note, in February, they mentioned that we would also be reducing logging XP needed to level up in this update. This change will actually occur in the update, in the upcoming weekly update. Thank you guys so much for your support, and see you in a tournament. And with that, we have come to such an incredibly long video. I hope you guys enjoyed the information being fed to you. I appreciate your time and your attention today. I hope to see you in my next video. I'm going to wrap it up because this video is already longer than it really needs to be. But there's just a lot coming to the game here this week. There's also going to be more coming here to the game in the very near future. So keep it locked here to Ginger Prime if you're interested in this journey with me. Otherwise, thank you, and regardless, I hope you have a great day. I hope to see you in my next video. But until then, take care.
Yeah. It's time to chill out on the couch and read some comments. That's right. You know me when it comes to Destiny. I'm off with a clan, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Oh yeah.